Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Stumpf, these charges against Wells Fargo violate any legal or ethical standard. We know that Wells Fargo employees for years opened 2 million accounts for customers without authorization. To hit sales targets and draw additional fees, bank employees falsified accounts and engaged in egregious deceptive practices. This was theft, plain and simple. That the offending Wells Fargo employees did what they did in a systematic way represents a gross violation of trust. When I first heard about these activities, my first thought was this falls into the, you've got to be kidding me. One's left asking, how does this happen? Over the course of the last 5 years, Wells Fargo was firing 1,000 lower-level employees each year. We learned in last week's testimony that it was not until 2014 that various committees on Wells Fargo's board were informed. It's incredible that this did not rise to the attention of the board immediately, and it's incredible that it did not end sooner. By any standard, these actions were wrong. 5,000 people, perhaps more, lied, cheated, and stole from customers who they thought that would trust them. How many people in Pennsylvania were affected by this?
I'll take a look at that. As I'm doing that, I just want to make a couple of comments. Many of these people, over 10 or 15%, were bankers or bank managers. These weren't all lower-level people. They were in their mid-30s.
How many levels 60s. In the organization chart at Wells Fargo are there?
It depends on the operating business. So there could be.
Are there 10 layers?
It could be 8 or 9 or 10 layers.
8 or 9 or 10. So a third-level employee wouldn't be considered a lower-level employee?
These were up to.
How many people in Pennsylvania?
In Pennsylvania, 79,918 accounts we could not exclude. Again, that's about the 2 million. There's, we're also understanding right now in credit card. Only 20, not only, but 25% could not remember or did not order.
How many branches does Wells Fargo have?
In our total company?
Across the country.
6,200.
How many branches are identified as being involved in this scandal?
I don't have that number. I don't know if there was a team member.
Is this a coast-to-coast scandal?
This is, well, first of all, it's exception, it's behavior that we did not want, and I don't know if it affected every state or every region. I just don't happen to have that information.
In the last 5 years, how many branches have you visited personally?
I don't keep account of that, but I'm pick a number, maybe 1,000.
Do you make it a practice to go behind the counter and work?
Absolutely.
And work as a teller or as a representative?
To work as one?
Yeah. Just you ever shoot the show like Undercover Boss?
Yeah.
Where the CEO comes in and does the frontline work?
Yeah. I'm not trained or allowed to do that, but I walk behind the teller line and I meet our people. I talk out in front with our bankers.
So you wouldn't have waited on a customer and maybe stood in the shoes of one of those frontline employees and maybe tried the cross-selling practice?
I've talked with them, and the vast majority of people are excited. Our culture and our in fact, we have engagement scores. Every year, we do about 93 or 94% of our people participate in the regional bank in a Gallup score that brings into account, are you happy in your job? Do you get rewarded, whatever? And our people are 14 to 1, 15 to 1 engaged. It's some of the highest scores in the industry.
Some of those employees had an issue. How many whistleblowers are there? Do you know?
I do not have that number.
Do you appreciate the kind of courage that it takes? Do you appreciate the kind of courage it takes to be a whistleblower?
Well, I absolutely. Our people can call an ethics line, and they can do it.
You have no idea how many. You have no idea how many whistleblowers.
I don't have.
CNN's reporting dozens. Do you think that's accurate?
I don't know, and we're gonna work on every name that we get. We're gonna work on.
Do you have any idea of how many of these people are no longer employed at Wells Fargo?
I don't have that number for you.
And any idea how many would have been demoted?
I didn't get
any idea how many may have been demoted, if any?
I don't have that number for you.
Yeah, I would suggest that again, given the courage it takes, not something like this, to speak, and the historic protections that should be attributable to whistleblowers, that this would be a top priority.
Yeah, and we have an retaliatory program.
And how many people at Wells Fargo are now working on the whistleblower issue?
I don't know that issue. I can have my team work with your staff and tell you.
Do you have any idea how many honest Wells Fargo employees may have lost out in a race with some of the fraudsters?
I don't have that answer for you. Well, we got 268